Well, here we are again, everyone. I did not anticipate filming another haul so soon after my July birthday colouring haul, but I've been very lucky to have received some amazing goodies from incredibly generous subscribers and publishers recently, so you know me, I have to share all the colouring goodness with you. I do want to take a quick moment to say a massive thank you to everyone who sent these supplies and books my way, and to just all of you for watching, commenting, and liking these videos. This really is such an amazing community, and I'm going to try and give back as much as I can with more colouring videos, more colouring techniques, and hopefully some giveaways in the future. But I'm going to stop gushing now, because today I have 4 new exciting supplies and 6 colouring books to share. My untouched colouring book pile has now definitely grown again, but these books definitely made it worth it. So without further ado, let's start off with the supplies. The first supply is one that's been on my wish list for over a year now. It is the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Granulating Watercolors. Whew, that is a mouthful. I've had my eyes on these ever since I saw them on Colored by Maya's channel, and holy moly, they look amazing. According to the product description, this dreamy 5-color set is designed to bring a beautiful grainy texture to your artwork, perfect for painting landscapes, skies, and foliage. I've personally never used any sort of granulating watercolors before, but apparently how they work is that the pigment will settle into the grooves up the paper, and that's what creates the really interesting speckled, broken color kind of look. So let's just jump into trying these out for the first time together. So I actually swatched these watercolors out twice because there was a bit of a learning curve in figuring out how to get that granulated effect. You can see on my first swatch card that I only really started getting the hang of it towards the last few swatches. What I realized is that these paints work best with the wet on wet method. So you wet the paper first, then drop the paint into that area. Basically, the more water you use, the better the results. And honestly, wow, these paints are stunning. I think they'll be perfect for creating a kind of dreamy, galactic vibe. The only catch is that I'll need to save them for books that can actually handle a lot of water, because that's the key with this set. You've got to go heavy on the water to make the most of them. Next, we have a set of pencils that I've heard in passing on people's channels before, but have never really looked into myself, and that is the Derwent Lightfast pencils. This is the 36 set, and as the name might suggest, these are supposed to have museum quality light fastness, meaning your artwork could last up to 100 years without the color fading. That sounds absolutely insane to me. Imagine my coloring lasting 100 years. So let's swatch these pencils out and see what my first impressions are. But yeah, I'm super intrigued. The product description makes them sound amazing. So I swatched out the Derwent Lightfast pencils in my Sarah Renee Clark swatch decks, splitting them across 2 cards. The first with all the beiges, browns, and greys, and the second with the rest of the colours. Now, this particular 36 set probably wouldn't be my cup of tea if I was using it on its own, but I'm actually really happy to have it in my collection because the shades are perfect for supplementing my Polychromos and Ohuhu oil-based pencils. Apart from a few brighter colours, most of the set is full of these gorgeous muted and earthy tones that those other ranges don't have as much of. And in terms of laydown, they felt super creamy going onto the paper. They're definitely softer and creamier than the Polychromos, but nowhere near as soft as Prismacolors. I'd say they sit somewhere in the middle, but I'll keep you updated on my thoughts once I actually test them out in a colouring book. Similar to the Derwent Lightfast pencils, this next product is one that I've heard other colorists chat about, but I've never really looked into, and that is the Wink of Stella brush. And it's basically a glitter brush pen that's supposed to bring instant sparkle to your artwork with zero mess, which I do love to hear because I definitely have some PTSD from loose glitter mishaps in the past. According to the product description, description, which I've got right next to me here. The brush tip allows you to create both delicate and bold shimmery strokes, and you can control how much glitter comes out just by how hard you press. So I guess it's kind of like, you know, a water brush pen in a way, but for glitter. I'm gonna try this out now on a whip that I have on the go in A Million Sea Creatures by Lulu Mayo. And then if I can find some, I might also try it on black paper because apparently that's where this product really shines. Yes, pun totally intended. So here's my current whip in A Million Sea Creatures. It's pretty close to finished, and by the time this video goes live, the completed page will probably be already up on my Instagram if you want to check it out. For this one, I wanted to test out the Wink of Stella product on the white water ripples and also the sprinkles on the donut pool floats within this illustration. To prep the page, I first covered the black ripple line work with my white Posca paint pen, then filled in the donut sprinkles with a gold metallic Languo gel pen to see how the glitter layered over both mediums. And I'm happy to say the glitter came out really nicely. That said, I think I will stick to using the glitter on smaller details like the sprinkles rather than larger areas like the ripples here. The ink flow can be a tinsy bit inconsistent, but who knows, maybe that's something I'll get better at over time. And since glitter never shows up on camera, I tried using my phone flashlight to capture the sparkle. It kind of worked. And here's how the glitter showed up on black paper. I can confirm that it absolutely pops on dark surfaces. And finally, the last supply I have to share with you is, oh my goodness, I still can't believe I have it in my possession. It is the full set of the Neocolor 2s. It still doesn't even feel real saying it out loud, and even with having the product in my hand. If this is the first video of mine that you're watching, I am obsessed with Neocolor 2s. Before this glorious set arrived here, I only owned the 30 set, and I kept saying how one day I hope to get my hands on the full set, but I did assume that would be sometime in the far future since they're not the cheapest supply out there. But it seems like dreams really do come true, because look! It's here, it's in my hands. For those who don't know, Neocolor 2s are water-soluble wax pastels that can be used dry like crayons or activated with water for gorgeous watercolor effects. I showed my favorite way to use them in my last video, so definitely check that one out if you want to see the Neocolor 2s in action. But for now, let's do some swatching and see how the color range of the full set compares to my original 30 set. So I ended up creating my own little Neocolor 2 swatch chart in Canva and printed it on some Neo Bristol cardstock. And obviously here you can see me activating the swatches. If you plan on using your Neocolors both dry and activated, I'd actually recommend swatching them twice. Leave one dry and activate the other because the color and saturation do shift quite a bit, but I just like to use them activated, which is why I'm only doing an activated swatch card. Overall, I just love the Neos, and I think the full set has a really solid color range. For reference, here's my 30 set swatched next to the full set. You definitely get a wider selection of pastels and browns in the full set that aren't included in the 30. And a fun surprise, there are even some shimmery metallic shades that you can see in the bottom right there. I don't know how much use I'll get out of them, but I didn't even realize they existed, so that was cool to discover. Now we're moving into the coloring book portion of this haul, starting off with the book that I've had on pre-order since pretty much the beginning of the year. It is the English edition of Hannah Carlzon's Christmas book, Godjul, which obviously is titled Merry Christmas in English. The Swedish edition came out around this time last year, and I will admit that I do feel a little bit sad that it takes a full year for the English editions of Hannah Carlzon's and Maria Troll's books to come out. I have nothing against the Swedish versions. The only reason I don't purchase them is because it usually costs them the same amount as the book or more to ship them to Australia. In a way though, I do feel like that is a blessing in disguise. It stops me from falling into the trap of overconsumption, and it's a really good test as well, because if a year later I still really want a specific coloring book, then I know it's going gonna be a worthwhile addition to my collection, and that's exactly how I felt with this book here. I was obsessed with this book last year, and I still am today, and I have no doubt that I'm gonna be coloring in this book year round, not just in the holiday season. And as I usually do in my coloring book hauls, I'm also gonna share the top 3 pages I'm most excited to color in each book. So the first page I'm definitely keen to color in this book is this Christmas horse here. We all know I'm a massive fan of coloring animals, and so this one naturally stuck out to me. I can imagine this done in a very wintry, cool color palette. I'm thinking blues, pinks, purples, very frosty and icy. And I could definitely see myself having a lot of fun with these stars in the horse's mane. Trying to make them glow against the hair could be a very interesting challenge. We then have a page that I think many people seemed to color last year during the Christmas period. It's this very, I don't know, it kind of gives me a dilapidated gingerbread house vibe. And I feel like I could almost tackle this for the Halloween season and kind of make some weird Halloween Christmas hybrid situation. It's definitely the exposed brick here within the illustration that's giving me those kind of creepy haunted house vibes. So yeah, maybe we need to do a Christmas haunted house Halloween situation in October. And then finally, this illustration here. This is kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's a similar vibe to the unicorn illustration, but with a more food concept. And because this is quite a heavy Christmas themed illustration, I would really love to experiment with an unusual color palette with this one. Steer away from the reds and greens and try something a little bit more, I don't know, quirky. What that color palette is, I do not know as of yet, but I think that could be a really fun way of taking this illustration, not necessarily out of the Christmas genre, but a different spin on the Christmas genre. It seems like the theme of this haul is books and supplies that I've had on my wish list for ages, because this book is in the same camp. We've got We've got Sirène du Monde by Diane Dufour. This will actually be my second book from this artist, and I just adore her art style. Her illustrations seem to have this childlike innocence and charm to them without ever feeling like an actual children's coloring book. The direct translation of this French title is Sirens of the World, and I didn't actually completely understand the concept of this book until I had it in my hands. Originally, I thought it was just a book about mermaids, but it's actually mermaids depicted in different parts of the world. So you've got mermaids in Asian settings, African settings, European settings, etc. And I really think that's such a unique and creative twist on the mermaid theme, and it especially appeals to me as someone who loves to travel and is fascinated by different cultures. Now, for those who've been a subscriber on my channel for a while, you'll know that one of my favorite animals is otters. I just think they're absolutely adorable. And Diane Dufour, I love the way she illustrates otters. I don't know what it is about them. I just think they're so cute. And so of course, one of the pages I'm very excited to color in this book is this otter page. Look at these adorable otters. However, I can definitely see this page being a challenge as well because of the background. I would really love to try and just master coloring water, especially water in a background sense. I think that'll be a great option for this page here, doing some sort of ripply water background. This second page I'm very excited to color because I love Japan. I love anything within the Japanese culture, and so I believe this is a mermaid on Mount Fuji with these snow monkeys. This one will be a great one for practicing coloring snow. I did that a lot during the December period last year, but I haven't done it so much since. And I think this is supposed to be a hot spring, so I could also experiment with having some steam coming out of this spring as well. And then finally is this illustration that I find absolutely fascinating culturally wise. I believe this is some sort of Peruvian setting. This is either a llama or an alpaca. I can never tell the difference between the two. But yeah, I've never seen a Peruvian style illustration before, so this one definitely stuck out to me just because of how unique it is, at least unique to me. Surprise, surprise, I've got another book that's been on my wish list for over a year now, and I finally have it. It is Mythographic Wild Summer by Joseph Kattenbang. This is not only my very first Joseph Kattenbang book, but it's also my first mythographic book. I've definitely avoided the mythographic series since I started my coloring journey just because the details seemed so tiny, and those details, they're even tinier in person. That said, I have a feeling that once I actually get started coloring in this book, I'll probably fall in love with Joseph's illustrations just like so many others in the coloring community have. I watched so many YouTube flip-throughs of mythographic books to decide which one I wanted to start with, and Wild Summer definitely stuck out to me by far. It was really hard to pick 3 illustrations in this book that I'm excited to color because I loved a lot of them, but also a lot of them intimidated me as well. But the first one, of course, is a very Asian-inspired illustration. It's this gorgeous one here. I can imagine just having so much fun with color on this page. I would probably do the very stereotypical yellow-orange sun in the background, but then everything in the foreground would just be an explosion of color. The detail in this mythographic book is absolutely insane. I know I said it before, but I'm saying it again because it still blows my mind. Like, even on the leaves here, you can see all those tiny details, which I don't know if they'll be covered up once I color over the top of them. But yeah, I just don't know if I've ever colored anything with such fine details like this. Probably the closest I've gotten to is Melpomene's books. The next one, are we surprised? We have 2 otters here and then this astronaut in the center. Another fascinating concept we've got going on, but this is very much like an underwater galaxy situation, and I've had the idea of coloring water in a galaxy kind of way for a while now, and this is definitely going to be the perfect page to do that with. I just have no idea how to tackle all these tiny details within this astronaut. Yes, that shading work is definitely going to be quite tricky. I might need to get some glitter gel pens out to deal with some of those tiny spaces. I also love the juxtaposition between this otter here holding a sun and this one holding a moon. Maybe I could play with that a little bit when coloring this illustration as well. And then the final one I really love in this book is this gorgeous kind of ballerina illustration we've got going on. This one I would definitely be intimidated to shade and color. I don't know how I would tackle that. Would definitely be good practice with coloring fur. I think this page would work really well with a somewhat complementary color palette. I'm thinking orange contrasted against blue. I feel like those colors would really bring this illustration to life. Next is a book unlike anything else I own, Amazon by Paula Brune. To be completely honest, I probably never would have gravitated towards this kind of book, but a lovely subscriber gifted it to me, and I'm really glad they did because I am very fascinated by how one might approach the illustrations in this book. And I do love coloring animals and florals, so in that sense, this book should be right up my alley. But these illustrations are far more realistic than anything I've done before, which, you know, just makes it an exciting, though slightly intimidating challenge. And I definitely want to tackle one of the pages soon so I don't build it up too much in my head. Not to mention the paper quality in this book seems to be like really good. I think I vaguely remember in the deep recesses of my mind, someone said that Neocolor 2s work well in this book. So I'll definitely have to bring out my new Neos when I tackle my first Paula Brune illustration. Now, the 3 pages that I've tabbed in this book are all either floral or butterfly related, mainly because I'm still feeling a little bit intimidated by the animals in this coloring book when flipping through. But I think once I tackle tackle one of the more simple floral slash butterfly illustrations, then I'll have a stronger idea of how to tackle the animals and yeah, feel a little bit more drawn to them. So first off, we have this gorgeous flower illustration here. This is definitely one of the strongest contenders for me to color first in this book because I can see how I would approach shading it. It probably has the least amount of blackness within the line work, if that makes any sense. Like some of the other illustrations, you can see there's quite a bit of black, and I'm not sure how to approach that as of yet. I assume you just leave it as it is and use bold colors to contrast against the black. But oh, I just love these florals here. I think at the back, yeah, you've got a kind of like index at the back, so you can see what the actual flowers are and you can color them realistically, or you could completely ignore the color of those flowers and animals in real life and just go wild, which I'll probably do the latter. We then have this stunning Birds of Paradise page. I am a big fan of Birds of Paradise. I think there was one page that I colored in Rooms of Wonder that had Birds of Paradise in them, and oh, I just loved coloring them. Birds of Paradise in general are just such a stunning piece of flora. I have no idea how I would tackle the background for a lot of the pages in this book because I do think my backgrounds tend to be on the more unrealistic side, whereas these illustrations are very realistic. But who knows, maybe the juxtaposition between a slightly unrealistic background and a realistic illustration, I don't know, maybe it could be interesting. And then finally, we have another butterfly illustration, of course. This one is on the larger scale. I think how I'd approach coloring this butterfly is by looking up some inspiration on Pinterest and just, I don't know, finding some unusual butterfly patterns and maybe not even necessarily sticking to the patterns that Paula Brun has illustrated here, and kind of just having fun with putting splodges of color wherever I want on the wings. And then I am very excited to add yet another Lulu Mayo coloring book to my collection. This will be my 7th Lulu Mayo book, which ties with Johanna Basford as the most books I own from any single illustrator. So yes, we have Lulu's House of Wonder by Lulu Mayo, and I think this just might have slid into my top 3 Lulu Mayo books, mainly because it's single-sided. I am so thrilled that some of the major illustrators in the coloring world are now bringing out single-sided coloring books. And I really do hope that more start following suit without sacrificing detail. I just find that it gives colorists so much more flexibility. I can use whatever mediums I want without having to worry about ruining the backside illustration. Plus, it just opens the books to a wider audience, including people who prefer or need to use alcohol markers due to hand issues. Anyway, mini tangent over. This book is a little bit different to Lulu Mayo's previous Millions publications because this one follows the character Little Lulu as she guides you through the rooms of her home and all of her cute adventures. Now, you will see a theme with the 3 pages that I tabbed in this book because I tend to really love Lulu Mayo's illustrations that have a lot of background space around them. And I think that's just a trend of mine at the moment because I used to hate adding backgrounds to my coloring pages, but now I'm absolutely obsessed with it. So when pages allow me to have that creativity with a background, I'm generally quite drawn to them. And so yes, all of the pages I'm about to show you generally have quite a large amount of background space. Starting with this one, hedgehogs are another animal that I think are absolutely adorable, but I do struggle to figure out how to color them sometimes because of their spikiness, I suppose. How do you even describe that? But what I would really love to do with this page is for the background kind of do like almost like a gingham rug kind of effect. Kind of give the illusion that this page is happening within a picnic setting. Hopefully you pick up what I'm laying down. And then this page, oh my goodness, I'm having this weird obsession with dragons at the moment. Not necessarily coloring them, but like just in general, when I'm reading, I want dragons in my books, and so this one definitely appealed to me. I could see this one colored at so many different times of year, just in winter, in general, maybe during, the Christmas holiday period, or even in Easter, because look, we've got some adorable little bunnies down here, so that feels a little bit Easter for me. And I am drawn to this page because I am wanting to get better at portraying glass in my coloring pages. I feel like I wasn't too bad at it once upon a time, but now I've kind of lost the skills, so that's something I need to brush up on. And then finally, is kind of another witchy, Halloweeny type page. I think I'm just drawn to those kind of pages at the moment with, October just around the corner. And I always love Lulu Mayo's more spooky, creepy illustrations because they're creepy but in the cutest way possible, and that's how I want my Halloween season to be. Creepy but cute. And finally, the last coloring book I have to share with you in this haul is the sequel to the spooky coloring book that I've colored multiple times on the channel. This is Spooky Coloring Adventures of a Witch Cat by Sarah Shefchik. Holy moly, I thought I was obsessed with Sarah's first book, but I think I like this one even more. Unfortunately, the binding of my copy did get a tinsy bit damaged in transit, but the pages themselves are still in good condition, and that's what matters most. In case this is your first introduction to Sarah Shefchik's work, she is an incredibly talented artist whose very magical, witchy artwork is all centered around her real life cat, which I very much appreciate as a cat parent myself. Just like the first publication, the sequel follows Delilah the witch cat as she embarks on many mystical adventures with her magical friends. And somehow Sarah has managed to make the scenes and concepts in this book even more unique and imaginative than her first. The paper also feels like a massive upgrade from her first publication, and considering I used all sorts of wet media in the original publication with 0 issues, I can only imagine how fun this one will be for experimenting with mixed media. In case you were wondering, this is the little bit of damage that this book endured on its way from America to Australia, but alas, it made it mostly in one piece. So first off is this stunning page here. I think I would take inspiration from the cover image for this one because it's kind of reminiscent of it in a way. And we all know that I love taking inspiration from the cover of my coloring books for at least one of the pages. I don't know, it feels like I'm paying homage to the illustrator in some way. We then have a page that made me laugh out loud when I first saw it. Look at this, I'm assuming it's some sort of pufferfish, but in a hot balloon setting. And this is a perfect example of what I mean when I say that Sarah Shefchik has thought of the most unique concepts in this book. Like, I would never think of a pufferfish hot air balloon. And the fact that the basket is the cat's hat, like, that is so smart as well. This one I definitely think I would turn into some sort of night scene in the background, play with some galaxy sky effects. I haven't done that in a while, and I do love myself a galaxy sky, so that's definitely the route I would go down for this page. And then I said I'm obsessed with dragons at the moment, so of course this page, it definitely appealed to me. I think what I also love about, dragons and coloring pages is that there's no one specific color for a dragon. They're a mythical creature, so you can really have fun and experiment with a myriad of colors. And I've just realized that this dragon looks like it's got antlers on. Oh my gosh, is this a Christmas illustration? I feel like this is giving me Christmas energy because these could kind of be like baubles coming off of the cat's hat. Oh my goodness, should I turn this into a Christmas illustration? I definitely need to write myself a reminder to keep this on the cards for the December coloring period. But there you have it, everyone. Those are all the incredible coloring goodies that I've been very fortunate to receive recently. Thank you all to the very generous subscribers and publishers out there who sent these wonderful supplies my way. I am I'm so incredibly grateful. And if you made it to the end of this video, let me know by commenting which book from this haul you're most excited to see me complete a page in first. And apparently there's also a hype feature on YouTube now that I still need to figure out how to use, but if you know how to use it, I would love it if you hyped this video up. It helps increase the reach of my channel and just spread the love of coloring with more creative humans. Until next time, happy coloring, friends. Have a good day, have a good life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!